Well, I understand that there's a massive amount of evidence against this guy, and I feel like the rules are changing. There was a time where an eyewitness was the best kind of evidence you could have. Nowadays, a cell phone and a car and surveillance, that's not memory. That's actual physical proof that an individual was at the crime scene during the time, and we're getting to that point where you got a defense that's overwhelmed with so much evidence that they're having a hard time defending it, and there's never going to be enough time for them. There's never going to be enough time for them to be prepared for the amount of evidence that they've been dropped on them. I mean, terabytes of data has been dropped on their head. The whole world responded to this case, and they all came forward, and I think they're going to be overwhelmed with the amount of evidence that they have against their client, and it could take them lifetimes to prepare for this.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this terrific Tuesday. It is terrific because you're here, I'm here. This is video 1 of 2. I think in the next one, I say that's 1 of 2, possibly, but this is 1, and that will be 2. Yeah. There'll be 3 videos in total today. I moved the live. Apologies, I had to. Bit of illness in the family, but it's all good, and you're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. What you've just listened to at the beginning there was Steve Goncalves, his most recent interview with none other than Ashley Butfield. And look, it dawned on me, a realisation. First of all, I just want to say that I respect Steve Goncalves as a family, as a father, as a family. He's a family father. You know me, English. Me and English are just not that good. But yeah, I respect him as a father, as a family man. He has gone through the absolute worst thing that could ever happen to a father. 100%. Absolutely 100%. And I feel for him in that manner. I must say that. This, what I'm going to say and coming up, is not about putting hate onto Steve Goncalves at all. But Steve Goncalves has done some things that have perpetuated certain elements of this case, and in a negative way. Like, I reached out to Steve Goncalves. Some may say wrongfully so. Some may be on the fence with it. Some will think it was probably wrong, but didn't say it because, it's one of those things, and I get it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to your family being threatened, and they're being threatened seemingly by people very close to a case that this person is balls deep in, and he seems to be someone who will openly talk to whoever wants to give him an air. I thought, you know what, I'm going to reach out to this guy. And when I had this conversation with this guy, the conversation that I had went in a direction that very kind of swiftly made it appear that he was throwing some shade on certain people in this case, namely Bethany and Dylan. Now, some will say that I put words into Steve's mouth. I don't feel that I put words into Steve's mouth. For those of you who saw the video that I put up, all I showed was the entire conversation, and it was very, very clear what Steve was saying and how he felt. He had specifically stated that the surviving roommates were being protected. They were being protected. They didn't really want to speak. But anyway, that's by and by. We've moved forward. Some people haven't moved forward from that, and they never will, but I've moved forward and Steve's moved forward. I've spoken to Steve briefly after that, and we came to a conclusion together. But look, what I will say is this. Steve Goncalves has been someone who people have wondered whether he had more information than you or I. They contemplated whether he had a leak. And people have even gone as far as to say that this element of this case should be investigated, because that could be damaging. There shouldn't be a situation where Steve Goncalves should have additional information. It shouldn't be. Not when Steve Goncalves is known to be so, let's say, loose-lipped. He has thrown himself into many things around this case. There has been situations such as the Linda Lane camera footage and Brett Norton. Brad Norton. Is it Brad Norton? Brett Norton? I don't know. I can't remember. But that situation where it would seem that, again, he was balls deep in the Linda Lane footage situation, for better or for worse. But look, I concluded from listening to this last interview that he did that Steve Goncalves knows nothing. He knows absolutely nothing. And he is actually seemingly being influenced, just like the vast majority of people around this case, by mainstream media narratives and the guilters. Originally, Steve Goncalves had said that Christie was sure it was Brian Kohberger who did this crime. She had gone as far as to say she wanted Brian Kohberger no longer breathing. She wanted him dead, and this was prior to him going into court and being proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it. So again, that further perpetuated people thinking, hold on a second, what do they know? They must know something. For her to go so deep into her hatred towards Brian Kohberger, and some will say that's understandable, but some will say you have to step back. You have to remove emotion out of the equation. You can't let your pain and your suffering cloud your better judgment. And that is that people deserve to be given the benefit of the doubt and to go through the system and to be proven to be guilty before you say this person is guilty and they deserve the punishment that this crime comes with, especially when that punishment is death. Just to get another death out of this tragedy isn't justice. It's furthering on the tragedy. We already have 4 victims. A 5th victim isn't going to make this a better tragedy. It's going to make it worse. We fail to understand, or some people fail to understand, that there is another family in this, and that is Brian Kohberger's family. The ripples don't just stop at the victims themselves. They go out and go out further and further and further and touch everyone. But yes, I truly believe that Steve Goncalves knows nothing. To go as far as to say that there are terabytes and terabytes of evidence against Brian Kohberger, and he was quite clever in what he did there. If you noticed, in 1 second it's sort of data, is terabytes of data, and then it's evidence. That shift from what it is to what you want to push out into the ether, and that is that there's terabytes of evidence against this guy. It's not terabytes of evidence against Brian Kohberger. And again, and I've said this previously, if you genuinely sit in there watching this video or watching any video, and your mindset is that the state have terabytes of evidence against Brian Kohberger, then you shouldn't be walking the streets. To be given a beach when all you want is a grain of sand, that doesn't mean the whole beach is worth to you, is it? It just makes the getting to the grain that you need harder. And I feel that Steve Goncalves again is trying to push that there is a beach worth of evidence when there isn't. There's a beach to go through and a grain of sand to find. And that's what's causing the delays. This isn't about tactic. Now, some may argue that, and Taylor being paid what she is being paid, and let's not make no bones about it, for the layman, that's good money, $200 a day, no one's going to sniff at it, but in the legal arena, that ain't big money. You could double, triple, quadruple that. And the question is, if Brian Koberger had representation that was double, triple, quadrupling that, would he be in the position that he's in now? The only way that Ann Taylor is delaying things is her inability to control her side of the argument. She is being controlled by the prosecution and her inability to effectively navigate what is being thrown at her by the prosecution. She is allowing them to delay things and making it look like she is doing the delay. She is making herself cannon fodder. But Steve Goncalves, again, he talks about eyewitnesses, and it's no longer eyewitnesses that are important in crimes. It's digital analysis. It's digital data. And he specifically says that this is phone data. This is car data. So again, this further proves that Steve Goncalves knows no more than what you and I know. What we do know, or what seems to be the case, is that Brian Koberger's phone and car data is the sticking point here. Yes, we have a knife sheath, and we have a knife sheath with his DNA on it, but we do not know, and I don't care how people feel about this next statement, we don't know if that knife sheath was placed there because they wanted a result. They wanted a result, and they knew Brian Koberger was the man. And I know that people are going to turn around and say, yeah, but that knife sheath was right there at the start. We don't know that the knife sheath was right there at the start. We don't know that the knife sheath was found where they said it was found. We don't know that. That's what we've been told. And similar to the white Hyundai Elantra situation, and this white Hyundai Elantra being Brian Koberger's, and the white Hyundai Elantra belonging to the killer, that is just, again, and I've mentioned this multiple times, that is conditioning. That is conditioning you, like the prosecution will try to condition the jury. That's what this is about. This is all about a sales pitch. People are bought and sold on emotions. And again, this is something that people need to understand. People don't buy into things on fact much of the time. They buy on emotion. And whoever's got the most emotional story and can sell their story best is going to be the team that wins on the day. And Ann Taylor needs to get better at managing her side of the story, her side of the argument, because there will come a time when that skill, that ability needs to shine. Brian Koberger could be guilty. He could indeed be guilty. But the flip side of that coin is that he could be innocent. We have not seen, and I would say that Steve Goncalves definitely hasn't seen either, anything that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Brian Koberger is guilty. For him to make the statement that there is terabytes of evidence against him further goes into two categories. Either Steve is not understanding how this situation works, or he is purposefully trying to, again, taint the jury pool and taint the public perception of someone who perhaps Christie has 100% thrown to the wolves as he is the guy who did it. But they know nothing. They know nothing. To go as far as to say that what evidence the car and the phone places him at the scene of the crime, we don't know that yet. That is a false statement. That is a false statement. But I will go on as far as to say this. If Steve Goncalves does have specific information regarding the car and specific information regarding the phone data. Now, based on the fact that the defence don't even seem to have that data, and that is the information that they are waiting on, because that seems to be what Ann Taylor is trying to get hold of in order to prove that Brian Koberger was elsewhere, that his driving around at night alibi that many people rubbished was in fact just the truth and would eventually be the alibi out of this. If Steve does have information, then that is indeed grounds for an investigation into leaks around this case. So what is it? Is it that Steve Goncalves knows nothing and just knows what you and I know, but is being very clever and manipulative with how he puts out his information in order to, again, perpetuate negativity against the accused? Or does he have information about these two specific elements? Has someone told him that the car data exists and what the car data exactly is, and that there is no way that Brian can get out of it? As again, Steve Goncalves makes a statement that there is no preparation for this that's going to be possible. It could take them a lifetime. What does he know to make that statement? Because now you have to truly pick a side. You have to pick the side as to whether Steve Goncalves knows and that is wrong, or Steve Goncalves doesn't know, but he is simply doing what many people are doing in this arena, if you like, and that is to just throw out shit and hope that it sticks. But again, I will leave you with this thought. Again, we want true justice. I think whether we agree or whether we disagree, whether we're content creators or commenters, we all want justice for these 4 victims. That's what we want, 100%. But just seeing somebody's head roll isn't justice. If Brian Kohberger didn't do it, then the person who did do it is out there. The people who did do this are out there, and they could do it again. This was a heinous, heinous act, and it took a specific type of person or specific type of people to be able to pull this off, and they are a very, very dangerous person or persons. And in Moscow, Idaho, the silence is deafening. People seem to be still scared of something. Nobody talking about anything. And we're going to talk about that in another video. But for now, that's me, I'm Harsh, you're amazing. Catch me in video 2 later on today, and tonight, the live that should have been last night, where we are going to have a bit of a rant together. But anyway, have a fantastic day, stay amazing, and I will catch you all then.